are going to be shared with you all. However, I'm just going to beam my screen. So markets and marketing are a major challenge that farmers face. So you find that as a farmer, production is not so difficult, producing is not difficult, but really what becomes a huge challenge is finding the right market. Markets are available, but the right market, producing at the right time, also becomes a challenge. So, a major challenge that farmers face is finding market. And once they have produced, it is cardinal that you must understand the market and uptake of whatever commodity that you want to produce. So, our markets operate on the laws of supply and demand. So obviously, if demand is very high, your price is much better. But if your demand is low and then you have high supply, that reduces the price. So if you have set contracts, this also just helps. But one important thing you need to do is conduct a small form of research by going to see how the market operates, which markets buy potatoes, where can you sell your potatoes, where can you sell your onions. So this just gives you an idea of how much you need to produce, how much of it during the year, what time of the year do you need to produce it. So again, quality is also the biggest factor that is considered. So without the farmer having to say a word, your produce will speak for itself, it will look good, and really quality of whatever you produce starts from planting quality seeds. So seed source is actually the biggest key when it comes to production, as well as sound management. So when you ensure that you have all of these done in order, that's the only way you are assured of getting an even better price. So I know others are also interested in, supplying, how to supply our chain stores. Chain stores are not into, especially places like ShopRite, but other smaller stores are easier, the likes of Choppies, these other corner shops. Shears is also not a very difficult market to break into. Even the requirements are not too stiff, so it's also very doable. But usually, if you want to break into difficult markets, it's important that when you identify the market is having challenges, you can easily supply. So to maneuver the supermarkets, like I mentioned, it sometimes feels impossible, but you can do it. Procurement officers are for fresh foods, set up meetings, propose what you'd be able to supply. Having a price list is also key. And then also setting up meetings with quality control officers. These will advise you on what quality is required. They'll also tell you how the product should be packaged, how it should be cleaned. They'll give you like the right steps of what you do so that you're not confused or you don't meet their standard. So usually the procurement officers also advise the varieties that you need to grow, the kinds of seeds you need to get, where to source the seeds, so you actually meet their standards and their requirements. So what is required is of you as a farmer. So as a farmer, you need to be a registered business entity. So have your details so that even this company can also see what you can do, what you can produce. Set up a price list. So these lists are usually negotiable. Some will say this is currently what we're buying at. And then you can negotiate from there. There's always room to negotiate. And even when costs go up, there's always room to air out what you want to sell or what price you want to sell at. And then for others with stricter rules, they require you to have a water sample. So you also have to ensure that even your source of water is not contaminated water. You're selling produce, you're selling fresh food to people. So it's very key. It's very, very key that you ensure that your water is not contaminated. So contamination could be maybe it's contaminated with a bit water, contaminated maybe with chemicals, especially if you're tapping from a stream and then the water is being washed down from somewhere, it's coming from somewhere else. So just ensure that you do not have. So usually they'll also ask you to carry a sample. So even when you carry a sample, make sure you get the best quality of what you have so that you have higher chances of being selected. You don't have a situation where I've carried things that are rotting or things that don't look so good. So just ensure you carry the best of what's in your field. So branding or packaging can be so is also key. So be different, have good quality packaging of high value. This will also help you fetch more customers. And one thing I noticed is that consumption patterns of customers vary. You'd be shocked that there was a time I was selling produce from a refrigerated truck, and the time I did not go with the truck. So I was just dropped off and I was selling produce. The produce which came out of the refrigerated truck, this was in an open market space. Um, the assumption was that it's fresh from the farm, it's very fresh. And then me just selling as a vendor, whatever I had did not really move. So packaging, very key. This is what attracts people. These days, a lot of people are moving with. Sometimes the product isn't so great, but because of aesthetics, because of how it's perceived, people will run to you. So what thing you can also think of is you can come up with a short name and a slogan. So this will just it just makes your business serious. So yeah, like I mentioned, carry the best out of what you have in your field, and just make sure that you make the most out of the opportunity that you have, people who are buying produce. So to be able to take your produce to open markets, it requires you to understand how the market operates. So a very good time to see how this is done is simply by making a trip in the early hours of the morning. So this is when most trading takes place between farmers and marketeers. You also see prices being set, and you also just be able to understand the whole process. So this issue on markets and marketing runs across all kinds of produce. So you can apply it anywhere really. And if, for example, each market has its own way of operating, so you have to learn it, you have to understand it. The dynamics in Soweto market are not the dynamics in Shawarma market. Yes, they do follow the rules of supply and demand, but you need to understand that there in Soweto market, there's the middleman. Shawarma, you can operate directly. So there are other markets I know across Zambia, some people are not even in Zambia, but understand how your market operates. So network with the people you find at the market, mingle with them. You also be amazed with the kind of market research you'd be able to gather. So if you make this a habit of observing the market, this just gives you an even stronger advantage in knowing when to produce, when the prices are better. And some marketeers would even be willing to follow you all the way up to your farm to buy your produce, which cuts your marketing costs. I find it less stressful if on the farm distribution and how it's sold and whether it's finished becomes none of my business, so long as I have been able to supply offload my produce. So the most important thing strategies to bypass all the middlemen, because your end user, your end target person is the customer. So what you can do is you can also see, depending on the kind of commodity that you have, you can see if you can do certain produce directly to the customer. Maybe you can do something where you do online marketing. You can see different places you can set up even stands to offload your produce. Sometimes even your market could be your colleagues that you work with. Maybe in your religious group at church, you carry whatever you have, and people do buy at schools. So you just find a way to find a potential customer. So beyond the market, grab every opportunity. Your potential customer could be a post away, your potential customer could be a conversation away, you never know. So just, learn to be open and just see how you can, push whatever you have benefit side. So just try direct, them, and then just see how it works. Is mastering your market. Simplest. The hardest part in farming is actually the market, and for farmers, and even a challenge that I would also. So now to get into the actual production of potato, it might be a bit technical. My best to break things down so that at least you'll be able to understand, but also you will have these notes, so being able to read them. Whoever's mic is, kindly mute your mic so that even as the lesson is recorded, you'll be able to go back and follow through. So we're going to start with seed selection. So it's important to note that when selecting the best potato variety, one has to go for a high yielding variety. And below a wide range of common potato varieties that are suitable and grown in Zambia. So the order is in line with one with the highest and its characteristics and what's good about it. So number one, we have Donata. So Donata, this potato is excellent. It has high yielding. It's high yielding, so it's almost about 20 to 25 big-sized tubers per plant, which are long, oval, and range from medium to large. So it tends to have a very nice, smooth skin, and when it's well managed, and it's the most preferred in homes, so it's very good for making chips and just table potato making. So it's not recommended to be planted during the rain season, as its resistance to blight is quite a challenge. So it gets to be affected by a lot of blight. However, diseases you can manage. I believe you can grow anything all year round, so long as you're able to manage whatever you're trying to do. It gets affected by blight, so it's highly recommended to be planted in off season starting from March up to April, where drip or overhead irrigation is implemented to, you know, so it takes 4 months to reach its maturity, with a potential yield of 60 tons per hectare. So one thing that's important to note is that water is very, very key in your potatoes. So if you can manage water, then that's very, very important. So do proper water management. You don't want a potato that's again too dry, or if you overwater it, it's a potato that is too wet and isn't good for consumption. So just ensure that even as we go on, there's a section on how we should have good water management practices. So again, we have jelly. So jelly is also a good yielding variety. So it's also able to produce about 15 to 20 tubers with oval shapes, and it can also be planted all year round and has no challenges for blight diseases. It is also a preferred variety for home consumption, and I think it's one that is seen quite a lot. I've seen so many different places stock it. So it has a yield potential of 30 to 60 tons. So it also takes about 4 months to get ready. Then we also have Sagita, also a common one. It's a fairly good variety, not highly recommended for rain season planting. It has a tendency of having, inner cracks, and if not well managed, the smoothness tends to be bad and can be planted under drip or overhead irrigation in off seasons. And it's a short maturing variety, so it takes about 3 months and has a yield potential of 30 to 50 tons per hectare. Then we have Georgina. It's not commonly grown. Seed is scarce, but it's also pretty good yielding. It has a potential of 40 tons per hectare. Then we have Rumba. It's a fairly excellent variety, also not commonly grown, and its yield potential is about 30 tons per hectare. So potato seeds are quite difficult to find. One that you would commonly find a lot is jelly. So jelly is almost found almost everywhere. Um, and most, seed producers, you'll find that they have jelly in stock. So a farmer getting into potato farming needs to know that growing potatoes during rain season is quite pricey because you need quite a lot of fungicides, mainly, not really insecticides mainly during the hot season. And then, during the rain season, you breed many diseases, especially, and insects, which could attack your crop. So diseases such as early and late blight, these, really reduce the yields in your potatoes. So meaning you have to be quite aggressive with your spray program in order to manage your potatoes during the rainy season. So coming up with a good crop protection program is key. So we shall talk about, crop protection, how to do a good crop protection program all throughout the training. So from this information provided above, farmers can decide on which variety they can go for depending on the season. But like I mentioned, potato seeds are quite difficult to source already. So that's where the challenge may be. So commonly we have a lot of jelly, Sagita, and Donata here and there. So choosing the best variety to plant in a given season provides you with a step ahead so that you have the best yields. So before we dwell further, soils. So what soils are we farming? Is your pH good for growing your potatoes? Even your soil type in terms of your soils, your potatoes wouldn't do so well in clay soils because they're expanding, they're growing. So they do fairly well in very good sandy loamy soils where so soils which are less, the particles aren't so dense. So even for your onions, it's the same thing. So a potato farmer growing potato needs to know the potato fruit, so the tubers form from the ground and not from the top. So therefore, we need to pay a lot of attention to what is on the ground. So amend the soil so that we have. So this is this depends also on the physical structure of our soils. So before planting, an important step is to have our soils tested. So this will determine, soil testing is actually the biggest key. Nutrition is the biggest key in having good yielding crops. So feeding your soils really determines how good of a crop you have. So when you test your soil, so this will determine what is present in your soils. Soils have a pH, so if your pH is on the lower side, it means your soil is acidic. If your pH, so just at 7, you know that if your pH is, so you know that your pH is neutral, your soils have high alkaline. So to reduce acidity, you add things like agriculture. You can add gypsum. You can also add ash. But yeah, gypsum is also a good fix because you kind of know what quantity. So your soil report will have everything. So you can even tell them, I want to plant potatoes. Please test my soils. This is what I want to do. And then they'll be able to give you a comprehensive result of your soils and whether they're suitable. So if they're not suitable, they'll tell you what amendments to put. And if there's anything that you need to add, or maybe they'll suggest who Unza, Mount Makulu, Omnia. Omnia actually has one of the large the go. So they have one of the largest labs now that do very comprehensive soil testing. So if you'd want, and then they would also recommend fertilizers. So for others in other countries, you should note that fertilizer companies do soil tests, and most agricultural universities also do soil testing, water testing as well. So you will then have a recommendation for the amendments to suit your potatoes. So fertilizer companies such as FSG, Superfert, Omnia can also tailor make fertilizers to suit your soils. This, of course, is more expensive. However, you can also do a plan where they will tell you, okay, you need a fertilizer like A, B, C, D, and they'll be able to assist. So an ideal pH for growing potatoes is between 5.5 to 6.5. So that is like slightly acidic. So you'd need to know that that's slightly acidic. So after the soil test has been done, we need to ask ourselves, are these soils ideal, and what characteristics should they possess? So we have different soil types. So loamy soil, it is ideal for cultivation because it has good drainage. The soils are loose, they're aerated. They also have humus. So this is like organic matter, which just helps in terms of the growth of your potato. Then sandy loam, these contain higher percentage of sand and they have 50% humus and clay. Though it's not perfect, it's also not that bad. The water drains just a little faster. Then we have clay loam. As the name suggests, this soil has a higher percentage of clay. It's difficult to also work with when it's wet, but it holds the plant nutrients and moisture well, and your soils will not need frequent watering. Then we have sandy soils. So obviously the kind of soil, sandy soils would need lots of watering, so which will make your costs even higher because now you have a lot of watering to do. Then clay, obviously very difficult to work with. So this is kind of just like you can go through these notes. So I just get into the actual bits of production. So it just talks about the soils. So after your soils have been amended, it's now time to get into the land ready for planting. So at this time, you would have already selected maybe jelly as your choice for planting. So now let's use a 1 hectare space. So we need to know how much seed will be needed. So a hectare, the dimensions is 100 by 100. So that is the land size for a hectare. So for land preparation, we need to clear our land. So it's important to weed. So it can be done through manual labor. You can also use herbicides just to eliminate the weeds. So I prefer, not using too much chemicals. We don't want to destroy our soils. We don't want to destroy the important, nutrients that are present in the soils, or just, beneficial bacterias, beneficial, anything beneficial in the soils. So the choice between the two methods depends on you as a farmer, but I highly advise going the manual way. So manual weeding involves hand hoeing to eliminate the weeds.
Apologies,
So
ma'am.
ensuring that,
Apologies, we can't see
yes,
your presentation. I'm sorry for disturbing. It looks like Western has taken
it's
over
not
the
showing.
presentation. Yes.
Just a minute.
I'm able to see it. I'm not too
No,
sure what's going on.
I'm able to see it as well.
I'm unable to see. I'm just seeing Westy Prince is presenting.
Yes, same here. I can't see anything.
I can't see anything as well.
Try and pin Manda
Um,
Sianga.
okay, let me just pin this. Okay, are people able to see?
Yes, me, I can
No.
see.
Some of us are able to see it.
We can see.
Okay, Avan, are you able to see?
No.
No.
Yes.
I can't.
And unfortunately, still not
You need to
showing
pin her.
Western.
It's still okay. I've pinned mine.
Okay, we are only able to see West presenting.
West. Who is?
I'm able to see it. I think the problem is people just haven't pinned your chat.
Oh, my thing. Okay.
Hello. West Prince Chewe has taken over the presentation. So he's presenting his page. So he has to stop the presentation for you to take over again.
Now we can see.
Now you can see
now.
it?
Now we can
Yes.
see.
Thank you very much.
Yes, we can see.
All right, great. Let me continue. So yeah, cleaning the land, very key. I prefer not to use chemicals. So I'm also kind of in a position where I want to reduce the amount of chemicals that we use on the land. However, if you want to go the chemical way, depending on the land prep method, so herbicides such as glyphosate can be applied. However, you apply this way before, you can do it 2 weeks before planting. You don't want a situation where at emergence, you have a situation where you burn your potato crop. So do this way before if you're going to go in with herbicides. So an alternative is that you can use pre-emergence herbicides. So there's metribuzin. So this is plus chlor. So the active ingredient is metolachlor. So you can just show it to the agro dealer. So whenever you're buying chemicals, talk about the active ingredient, which is always on the bottle. So for this one, it can be sprayed 3 days before the crop germinates. And then for post, you can spray something called Trumpet. So this is a selective grass herbicide. But like I said, I would prefer you just go the mechanical way of weeding. So there's a table that has the active ingredient and also the product names. And it also has exactly what is done. So glyphosate is pre-plant burn down, so it burns like literally everything. And then for this one, for claw, pre-emergence, so it does grass weed control. So this you do it within 3 days after planting. And then even with the metribuzin, it's also a pre-emergence. For this one, controls broadleaf weeds. So you also apply it within 3 days. And then we have quizalofop. So this one is also a post emergence. So this one is a selective herbicide for grass control only. So yeah, just go in the mechanical way. There's nothing wrong. Over dependence on chemicals is also just not good at all, and it's also quite costly. Depending on which products you choose to go for, others will say no, the mechanical way is more expensive. So it really just varies. So if you get seed that's not sprouted, ensure to place the seed in a room that's warm. So for about 7 days, this allows the tubers to sprout. So for faster planting, you can also purchase seed that is sprouted, which is actually the best. So purchase sprouted seed. So ensure to just get seed from a good source. So for the recommended spacing for your potatoes, it's 15 to 30 centimeters per station. And even when for example, it would also depend on how you're irrigating. If you go with drip irrigation, you follow your drip points, and then between your rows, you can do 90 to 100 meter lines between your rows, so line to line. So from the spacing, we can determine the number of seeds in 100 meters, which helps us with calculating the population in 1 hectare. So here's a formula to guide you. So if 1 meter equals 100 centimeters, and we are using a spacing of 25 centimeters plant to plant, we need to convert 25 centimeters by dividing 25 by 100, which results to 0.25 meters. And after converting from centimeters to meters, we use this figure to figure the number of seeds in 100 meters by dividing our 100 meters by 0.25, which gives us 400. So we know that we'll need 400 seeds in 100 meters. So we'll need 400 of them. So to find out how many lines will be in 100 by 100 meter plot using a row spacing of 90 centimeters, we convert the 90 centimeters by dividing by 100, which gives us 0.9 meters. So when we divide this into 100 meters to find the number of lines in 100 meters, we will find that we'll have a total of 111 lines. So you can do these calculations. It's all written here. So you can also do this provided with your spacing. Just follow through. It's quite easy to follow through. Maybe you want to do it on a 50 by 50 or an even smaller plot. You just follow through with these calculations, and then you follow with the dimension of your lines and your spacing, and you'll get exactly what you need. So you'll find that we get 111 lines, so each line containing 400 potato seeds. So this information will help us know that our plant population, so 400 seeds times 111 lines, results to 44,400 plants in 1 hectare. So that is what we're going to have. So 1 hectare, you need about 200 to 300 bags by 10 kg. So you find that seed is lot, your tubers will be smaller. So if you do a relatively larger spacing, you have bigger tubers, and also will not okay, my apologies. I know you lost me there. So if someone can just say the last thing that you heard me say.
You spoke about the
Yeah.
size of tubers and spacing. So the
Oh.
larger the spacing, the larger the bulbs.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the larger the